Alrighty. So let me start with an introduction. My name is Meredith Ader, and I'm the head of research and instruction here at Regent University. Sorry, we still have people coming in. Just trying not to be distracted, but I don't want them to be hanging out in the waiting room. So yes, I'm the head of research and instruction at Regent. What I find to be important to let you to know is that I work remotely. So probably the majority of you also are taking your courses in a remote fashion. And the reason why this is important for you to know is that there's a level of accountability with me being remote as well. I'm coming to you from western portion of New York State, not from there originally, but my husband is a pastor and that's where we live. Um, and so if I can't connect well, if I can't find resources well, if I can't assist you well, then that's a problem. But the reality is that I can. Regent puts a ton of resources into making sure that your experience is good. And that means helping you to find the resources that you need to complete your projects. And not just some resources, but the best resources. So today's workshop is really introducing you to how the library webpage is designed, all the little tips and tricks that you generally are going to want to know so that you can navigate the website well. And then eventually, as you get used to it, spending more and more time in it, that you're going to feel like an expert in these search processes. Knowing that you're going to get really, really good at this, there are going to be times that you're going to hit a wall, and that's totally expected and okay. And I want you to remember my face because I'm going to be the person that you're going to want to reach out to have one-on-one meetings. These workshops are fantastic. It gets a whole lot of people at once, but it's in the one-on-one meetings that we can really hash out your ideas and find those search words and really help to get your research into something that you're proud of. So again, that's today's agenda. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And if I can just get somebody to unmute and just verify with me that you can see my screen, that would be fantastic.
We can
Yes,
see it.
I can see it.
Yay! Good, 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 good. All righty. So let's do this. Let's start this little slideshow. Come on. And again, this is being recorded, so you are going to be able to have access to this recording probably after tomorrow. My grad assistant is the one who actually uploads it onto YouTube. So if you would like to go back and reference it, it will be available to you. All righty. 2012 was a really important year in the world of libraries. It was in 2012 that the implementation of what we call a discovery tool or a finding aid was implemented. It took several years for libraries to gather the resources to be able to pay for having this particular service, but now that most have, it has been a game changer in how we do research. It used to be, prior to 2012, that our goal as researchers was to learn which databases best fit our discipline. That was wonderful, well and good. There's something very valuable in that. But because of some pretty significant changes in 2012, a lot of our databases have become multidisciplinary. And so that means that where you normally would have looked for information might not be there. In fact, it might be in 13, 14, 15 other different databases that you didn't know were in existence. So having a discovery tool basically means that our search processes kind of work off of almost like a browser, like a little miniature browser that we are able to control. And the way that we control it is we are able to tell the system, this is where I want you to look for information. And so we have it looking in almost all of our databases. We have about 300 of them. So it's looking in all of those databases, just about all of them at the same time. It's also looking in our regular old catalog system. So looking for books on the shelves, looking for electronic things that we own. And then it's looking in other libraries because we have such strong sharing capacity, free sharing capacity. We're able to look in their catalogs and in their discovery systems in order to see what they have so we can borrow it whenever we need to. And then it does one step further. It also looks online for anything that's labeled as open access. And open access is basically information that doesn't always necessarily land in databases the way that you would expect it to, but it's still scholarly, good, vetted, freely available information. You just have to know how to get to it. So that's how this system has kind of flipped our research on its head. We used to have to go looking for that needle in a haystack. Now it's more like we have a gazillion needles and we have to figure out which one of those is the best fit for our research. And we do all that in what we call Primo. So Primo is that discovery service that's going to look in all of our databases at the same time. Again, you're going to have a recording. You're going to have access to this recording, but I wanted to make sure that in this you have all of the links so that you can access it quickly. So today we're going to go through the library webpage. We're going to talk about research guides. We're going to talk about Primo a little bit more in depth. We will talk about individual databases. We're going to talk about instructional videos, and we're going to talk about Google Scholar and have some time for Q&A. And again, if I can make sure everybody is muted for the time being, we will certainly open it up for questions shortly. All right. So research guides, they are exactly what they sound like. Research guides are developed by us, by the librarians. We create them, and they're designed to help get you to the information that you need specific to your field quicker than having to just Google everything, basically. So here are some examples of guides that we have. We have a bunch of them, a whole lot of them. And it'll share things like statistical information or web resources. This one right here that I'm showing you is actually from an education guide that I built. And it really is designed so that an educator can find those resources that are very specific to their field. But again, we have guides for pretty much everything you can imagine. One of the guides that I really want to make sure that you are aware of is our citation guide. We are fortunate enough at Regent to have academic coaching. That is a completely different department from the library, but it's where they do writing tutoring. So everything that's mechanics of writing is something that academic coaching undertakes. So that includes citation. So whenever you come to the point in any of your projects where you are not so sure that you have the citations correct, for instance, then you can make an appointment with academic coaching and they can help you. They can look at your citations and tell you what might need a little bit of help. So again, we are extremely fortunate to have academic coaching as one of the different departments at the school. So you can access them directly. You can also go to this guide, and we have it linked in all the different ways to make sure that you can speak with somebody there. All right, so as promised, I do want to talk a little bit more in depth about Primo. Probably if you have been playing around in the system, you've discovered that it can give you a plethora of results, and then you can change one little thing and suddenly you have nothing. There's something really neat about this system in that it is so far reaching. It can look in so many places, and it looks internationally. I mean, it looks everywhere, that sometimes when you do a search, you're going to get back so many results that you don't really know what to do with yourself. And then other times you put in some keywords, you think they're great, and you get like one result or you get nothing. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about how this system is designed and how it can best work. But again, those one-on-one appointments with me, that's where we can really get into the nitty-gritty and really help hone in on those keywords that are so important in order to find what you need. All righty. And what I'm showing you right here is actually we have a guide. We have a research guide to Primo as well. And we have tutorials, very, very short tutorials. They're each about 5 or 6 minutes long. So if you are more of a visual audio learner, then these tutorials could be really helpful to you. All right, so from the library homepage, what I want you to notice is right here in the middle of the page is where we have Primo. There are a couple of different ways of entering into Primo. You can either type right here in this little search box, or you can just click the search button. It really doesn't matter. Most often, whenever I'm using the system, I just click search because I want to get to this page. This is a page where I need to make sure that I am signed in before I do anything else. And the reason we need to sign in is because if you're not, then the system doesn't know that you have paid tuition, which allows you access to all of that wonderful information that cost a ridiculous amount of money. So you do want to make sure you're signed in. If you're not, you're just going to kind of get frustrated, not being able to get to the information that you see. So see a green banner, sign in. It's also in your upper right-hand corner. 2 different places, they do the same thing. All right, so once you're signed in, your name will be in the upper right-hand corner. You'll know that you're good to go. So I'm just going to run through a series of screenshots. In this particular search, I looked for the word leadership. I figured that was a pretty broad topic, one that would cover a good bit of your each of your individual research projects. So whenever I typed in the word leadership, I don't know if you can see this, it's kind of small, but that brought 4.5 million results, which is, it's a lot. And again, just a reminder, it's looking in a ton of different places. And all I'm asking the system to do is to look for materials that have the word leadership. So it's not a surprise that so much has come back to me. But I need to work on this. And the way I work on this is I use the tools that are available to me. What I want you to take note of is right here where it says advanced search. Typically speaking, as a graduate level student, you're going to probably want to kind of default to the advanced search. You're not just kind of browsing. By this point, you're probably looking for some specifics. So you're going to want to click the advanced search, which opens up your search box to something much more substantial. So in this section, and just so you know, the system really does work better if you use the advanced search rather than trying to fit everything on one line. So what I like about the advanced search is it gives you lots of lines. You can add more lines if you need to. So I'm going to tell the system more of what I really want. And let's just say that what I'm really interested in is Christian leadership. And I really want to find that phrase. So I'm going to tell the system to look for that exact phrase. And I do that by clicking the little downward arrow and choosing contains exact phrase. So now it's looking for the phrase Christian leadership. And let's say that my discipline is business. So I'm going to throw in the word business. I also want to take a moment and recognize that it's possible that the results I need to really explore are those that are within a certain time frame. So I can add filters. I can make sure that I'm looking at information just from the year 2000 to present, for instance. I can also limit it to peer-reviewed information. There are lots and lots of different filters I can use, but for this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the years between 2000 and present, and then also look for peer-reviewed information. And in doing so, my 4.5 million results brought me down to 400 and, oh, that's tiny, 462, I think that's what it says, which is much, much more reasonable. Keeping in mind, whenever you're looking at these results, there is no magic number. There's no way of saying, yeah, you've hit the search, you nailed it. But 500, it really is a very, very reasonable number. It could take you maybe 20 minutes to go through the titles of 500 results just to see if what it brings back is what you need. In fact, really anything under 1,000 in my book is a pretty good search. Okay, so once I've found a search that I like, I have lots of options. I can save the search. And what I mean by that is I'm saving the search parameters. And I'm going to go back to this screen. The search parameters are your keywords here and any filters you used. And when I click Save Search right here, that's going to save this information so that I can get back to this page without any problems. And you'll see that again here. Also, each one of the individual results has its own little pin. And what that does is that saves the individual record. And all of this can be, you can get back to it by searching the other pin. There are pins everywhere, but it's a pin in the upper right corner beside your name. And that's going to take you to everything you've ever saved. What's helpful about this is, again, when you begin to do your research in such a way that it's pretty specific, you probably are going to think that you can remember how you got to certain pages, but chances are really good that you're not. And it's important to say that search parameter just so that you really can get back to that information without having to, pull your hair out trying to figure out how you got there. With that being said, when you click the Save Search, it's going to automatically pop up a little banner up here, and it's going to ask you if you want to turn on notifications for this query. What that means is that if you click it and you say, yes, I want you to turn this notification on, when new information is placed within the system, so let's say somebody just publishes something and it makes it into a database, it's going to let you know. You're going to get an email saying, hey, a researcher just published something. It's in the catalog. You can go get it. That probably is going to be important, again, as you're working on your own research to make sure that you're getting the newest information possible. And again, when you save it, this is just a screenshot of what it looks like. These are the individual records that you'll be able to see. And then the saved searches, again, are those parameters, how you got to that page in the first place. There are lots and lots and lots of other tools in Primo, and they're wonderful. And I highly recommend taking the time to play around with it, kind of get lost in the system and use it. Use it to your best advantage. But I do want to point out a few things that you likely are going to want to know exist. First and foremost, citations. Whenever you find an article that you like and you want to make sure that you are going to be able to use it, when you click the citation button, it's going to give you an option of APA or Turabian or just any of or MLA, just whatever citation style you need for your discipline. It's going to give you that option and you can save it. Word to the wise though, I have seen errors. There is no system out there that automatically creates citations that's always right all the time. It just does not exist at this point in time. It's a big, big step in the right direction. But again, I have seen errors. And if you copy over an error and you turn it in, that's now your error. So just make sure you know your citation styles. Absolutely contact academic coaching if you want them to double check your work or just to help you get refamiliarized with it. But again, I do want you to know that the tool exists, but I also want you to know that it's not perfect. Similarly, RefWorks is a place to store resources. Again, you can save them and they'll be here forever until you graduate, but you can also store things in RefWorks. There is a citation generator in RefWorks, and again, it is not always correct. So just keep that in mind. Changing gears a little bit, you'll notice that some of the results have these lovely little arrows. These are so much fun. What these arrows do is they connect you to information that is similar in vein to the article. And the reason why it's similar is because they're connected. The downward facing arrow is going to take you to all the resources that the author used to create the article. So older references, but ones that were referenced within the article. The upward facing arrows will take you to newer information, typically articles where the authors quoted this particular article. So newer information, older information. This is particularly helpful if your research topic is a little bit more nuanced and you really need to start digging deep to find that information that's relevant to your project. And real quick, I do want to point out, you'll see this in lots of different pages, but there's a 24/7 chat. That is something that that Regent has, and that connects us to lots of different libraries across the world. And basically, we cover each other. So if middle of the night you're working on your project and you need a librarian's help, you can click the little button over here, and it's going to connect you to a live human being, not AI, not a robot, but a live human being, a professional librarian that can assist you. If that librarian is not able to provide an answer that you need, what that person can do is they'll create a ticket and they'll send it to me, in fact, directly to me, and I can answer that ticket, which basically means that whenever I log back into my computer, I'll see that there's a ticket and I'll contact you and follow up with whatever question you might have. So just want you to see that because, you know, those midnight hours when you're working, it's important to know that you're not alone. All right, so a little bit about RefWorks. RefWorks, again, is a place where you can hold your information. This, this can be helpful. It can be a great way of organizing your information. And the reason why we typically talk about RefWorks over the other citation management tools, such as Zotero or Mendeley, is that RefWorks is owned by the same company that owns Primo. And so it integrates seamlessly. It works extremely well. But again, a word to the wise. It's not a perfect system. Again, the citation builder is not going to, it's not going to be perfect. You will have to double check it to make sure it's right. But the other important thing is that whenever you save citations to RefWorks, that's all it's going to save. It's just going to save the citation. You can, however, upload an entire article. And once you do that, it is yours, and it is yours forever. As you work through your projects, you're going to be gathering lots of information. Some of it you're going to use immediately, some of it that you just want to hang on to because it's interesting to you, may not be great for your project, but it's something that you want to go back to. When you graduate, it's important to realize that your access to information through the library is going to be limited. And that's based on vendor licensing agreements. Basically, they do not offer full access to anybody that is not a current student. However, if you download the entire article while you're a student and you save it someplace like RefWorks, then it is yours forever and ever and ever. Just I really want to make sure you hear that point. It makes me very sad when we have an alumni, when alumni contact me and say, "Oh, I wanted access to this database," and I have to tell them, "I'm so sorry, but that was a privilege whenever you're a student, not when you have graduated." Had they saved what they wanted before graduating, then they would have had access. So I do want to make sure that you hear that clearly. There is a wonderful little YouTube about RefWorks. RefWorks themselves, they actually put it out, and they do a far better job than anything I could ever do. So I wanted to make sure you have this YouTube link so that you can go back and watch it if you're curious. But in the meantime, I do want to show you, this is my RefWorks account. So this is where I've saved information that's important to me, to the research that I'm doing, and I want you just to see how it's laid out. I've got different folders for the different subject areas that I'm currently researching. And just to show you that, you know, here are the little things. You can create a bibliographic page. If, for instance, I wanted to use this article, and this article, I would just check them, and I would click Create Bibliography, and it would do it for me. But again, I've got to make sure that what I've got listed in here is correct. Otherwise, it's going to create a wonky bibliographic page. All right. Hope y'all are hanging in there. When you find an article or an ebook or anything else within Primo, you're going to want to access it potentially. And there are lots of ways of doing that. You can click the title. You can click one of these green links that are at the bottom of the page. And when you do, it's going to open up the article. The reason it's important to know that there are different ways of accessing it is because all of these systems have human beings behind them, and sometimes things don't go the way they're supposed to go. It could very well be that you click download PDF and it doesn't work. Please don't fear. Go back and click the other one. I guarantee one of them is going to work. And normally it's going to work. 99% of the time it's going to work. But if it doesn't, that's okay. Let me know. And we are really good at troubleshooting. Because again, this thing is processing billions and billions of pieces of information. Errors are going to happen. You probably have done nothing wrong. It's probably just a system having a moment. But there are multiple ways of accessing information, and that's your best bet. If one doesn't work, try another one. But typically, you're going to be able to have full access to the entire page. If you see, though, that the article that you're interested in, or again, the book, says to get it for me from other libraries, that's exactly what it means. It means that we can get it for you. We just have to borrow it from another library. Again, this is free. I do want to mention that because I had a graduate student who was literally in his last couple weeks of his entire program, and he told me he never used interlibrary loan because he couldn't afford it. And it kind of broke my heart because interlibrary loan, it is free. And it just gives you access to all kinds of wonderful things. So when you see get it from me from other libraries, you click it, and then you simply follow the little links and just ask that we get it for you. And we do say 24 hours, but the reality is that the system is so fast that sometimes you'll get it within 2. It's a wonderful, wonderful system. And we do have a guide. We have a guide on interlibrary loan in case you are curious about that. Oh, hope y'all are hanging in there. LibKey. LibKey is a tool that I want to make sure you are aware of. And again, we have a YouTube for it. LibKey is a tool that scours the internet. So let's just pretend that you are on Wikipedia and you're looking at information about, I don't know, anything. The Reformation, for instance. And you realize there's some really good resources listed at that bottom of the page. If you have LibKey installed, LibKey will identify which of those resources the library already has and will create a direct link for you to the library. So here's just a screenshot of an example. Anytime you see the little green golden flame, that means that we have it. You literally click it and it's going to take you right to the resource. And it works in a lot of places, not just Wikipedia. It actually works even in Amazon. So if there's a book that you're looking at and you suddenly realize, oh, wait, there's a little green flame, that means that Region already owns it and you don't need to buy it. Okay, so back to our library homepage. We do have our individual databases accessible. And sometimes that's important. Sometimes you don't want to go into Primo and search in all of them at the same time. Sometimes you want to go in an individual database to look for something in particular. So when you click that button, it's going to take you to our A to Z list of all the different databases that we purchase. So here's an example of me looking for the word leadership. And there are 10 databases that more or less focus on leadership. There's also a couple of databases that focus directly on dissertations. And as you get closer and closer to the completion of your projects, you may want to be able to view a dissertation or a thesis, depending on if you're getting your master's or your doctorate. And you might also want to see specifically what former Regent students have created. This can be really helpful whenever you're trying to wrap your head around what your chair wants to see from you. So here's an example of me looking for leadership in our Regent only. This is just the Regent dissertations and theses. So I'm looking for leadership, and I'm actually looking for Dr. Patterson. You can pinpoint individuals as well. And again, sometimes that can be really, really important. And that provides me 18 different dissertations and theses that all had Dr. Patterson as one of the committee chair individuals. Back on the homepage, on our toolbar section here, when you click Research Tools, it'll open up a little bit larger of a menu, and I want you to see that there are instructional videos. So things like today's workshop, that's where it's housed. That's not the only thing that's there. We also have a ton of very, very short videos, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes, just real short little videos that help to get you connected from point A to point B in a really quick manner. Probably, if you've worked with me at all, I've probably sent you a couple videos just to help make sure that you are getting just the best information possible. And so all of these videos, they're constantly changing. We're constantly updating them and providing new ones based on the needs of our students. All right, as promised, I want to talk just a tiny bit about Google. Specifically, I want to talk about Google Scholar. I am not a fan. If any of you've ever worked with me, you know this. I am not a fan of Google at all. I don't like systems that are based on algorithms. The reason why is that as a researcher, that's going to make your information biased. It's just the way the system is designed, and there's really no way around it. So in that, I say use it, but use it sparingly, and really only after you've done the work within other systems like the library, Primo, and the discovery system. But there are times that Google Scholar can be really, really helpful. So Google Scholar, for the most part, tries to limit its results to things that are sort of scholarly. It does not mean that it gets it right. It gets it right a good amount of the time, but not always. You might get some weird extra stuff in there, but sometimes that weird extra stuff is meaningful to you. The other thing about Google Scholar is it doesn't care one little bit if you pay $70 for access. So it's just going to list everything, whether it has a paywall or whether it's free. I do want you to recognize that you can eliminate quite a bit of the paywall issues by linking your Google Scholar with Regent University Library. If you've taken UNIV, LIB, you know that's a requirement. And all you do with that is you go to the little hamburger menu, you go to the settings, you click library links, and you type in Regent University Library. You check the box and you click save, and that is it. And what that means is that whenever you do a search in Google Scholar, if we have it, you're going to know it. It's going to see it on the side. It's going to say that you can view it at PDF, or at Regent, or it might give you a PDF from Regent. But Google Scholar, it works basically the same way as Primo does. There are filters, there's a search space. And I just wanted to show you this. So this was the same search I used in Primo, looking at Christian leadership as a phrase. And I want to make sure that it includes the word business. And it is giving me 30,500 results. That's a lot for you to have to vet. But again, it might be important to you. If you discover that this really is a good tool, you can also create an alert so that if anything new lands in this parameter, you'll be notified by your Gmail account. There are lots of other tools that IT specifically provides to students. This is not through the library. This is through the IT homepage. And I do have that link for you here. So things like Microsoft Editor, Office 365, Adobe, SPSS. There are lots of different things that IT offers. I do want to point out that Microsoft Editor, that is new for us. It used to be Grammarly. We used to offer a premium access to Grammarly. Grammarly kind of got a little out of hand. with its AI capacity. It kind of got a little aggressive, to be honest with you. And so the university made a switch to Microsoft Editor. It seems to be working a whole lot better. So anyway, you would want to go to the IT homepage to access any of this. Finally, a word about AI. Again, we have a guide. We have a guide for everything. So we do have a guide on AI. And the reason I want to bring this up is because we are in the baby stage, just the earliest baby stages of determining what is and what is not acceptable use for AI. Every university is kind of having these conversations right now. And there are a lot of implications behind it, and there are a lot of opinions. I'm not here to discuss my opinion on it, but I do want you to know that there is a guide, and what I'm trying to do with it is just to make sure that the conversation that we're having is continually being updated in this guide. At this very point in time, the best I can tell you is that if you want to use AI, just clear it through your professor. That's about the best I can tell you right now. But anyway, this guide will continue to update as we have more regent level policies in place. There are lots and lots of different ways to connect with us. You can go to this URL right here, and you can contact us through the 24/7 chat. You can call us, you can submit a question, you can make an appointment. You can also reach out to me directly at my email, or you can make an appointment directly with me at this URL. All right, that is that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm hoping you have questions because I have talked an awful lot and I need a break.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. That was eye-opening to say the least, and a lot to take in. But I am wondering, would you be willing to share your presentation only just because it has so many helpful web links and information? So if that's something you can email out to the attendees, that would be so helpful.
I think I can. Yeah, I think I can do that. I will see if I can do it. I'm speaking with Elaine, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then the other quick question with RefWorks, is that the one where you say we can have it create a bibliography if we select certain works? Okay.
Yes, you can. And again, I really cannot emphasize it enough. It's never always right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably would be
So,
more right than I would be, but you know.
well, I mean, it's a big step in the right direction. I would have loved to have had that when I was doing my grad work, but I didn't.
So much.
Hi, I have a question. As we're gathering our data and we're preparing, like we're working towards a particular thesis for an upcoming paper, is there any particular I'm going to say structural way that you work that you could just share? Kind of like, if I was going to start this paper, I first would do A, then I would do B, then I would do C, and this is work for me because
Yes.
I am coming from a perspective of having a traumatic brain injury, and as a result of that, I like to know what structural things will be helpful to me as I'm gathering data and being organized, because I really have no memory recall. And
Okay.
so that would be helpful to me from a memory recall, and to like put, perspectives in place of what I need to do to be prepared.
You know what? Thank you for sharing that. That gives me a really good idea for something that I think I'm gonna follow up with that and develop it so that anybody can access this particular answer. Because yeah, I mean, I absolutely go into every single process in a very similar way. I kind of mentally imagine a funnel, and
Okay.
here are my general ideas. And I try to grab a couple words that I know are going to be used by a researcher. Just real general words that I know if I plug it in, it's going to find something. And then at that point, I evaluate what the results are, and I begin to whittle it down by adding filters or by adding another keyword, doing different things to it in order to make sure the system knows exactly what I'm looking for. So it really is a funneling of ideas. And there is a point in time that I might add a word and then suddenly my results are ridiculous. I've got like 3. Like, okay, that was one too many words. Let me subtract that. So it is very methodical. The way that I do, the way I structure my research, but it works. It works really, really well. And you really do begin to learn to play with the system and figure out, okay, it did not like that word. It didn't like that filter. I have to back off a little bit. And it also may mean that I need us to take a moment and come up with synonymous terms. That can be extraordinarily important depending on what your research is. But in saying all this, me just verbalizing all that and even me demonstrating it doesn't do a whole lot as far as giving you a structure that you can almost like template it, that you can like step 1, do this, step 2, step 3. So I really appreciate you asking, because I think that my next thing is I'd like to create a template or a step-by-step, explaining this so that you don't have to worry about memory recall, that you can just read it and go through it that way.
The other thing that thank you, and the other thing, just tying on that, is I've found that part of my issue is pathways of, like I'm on this pathway right now trying to remember this data. So one of the things I've been doing is saving it as a PDF. Like I'm constantly saving PDFs, and I'm labeling the PDF, pathway from here to there. And I know that sounds crazy, but for me, it just, I could then quickly look at that, all that data gathered for that one topic, and then go, okay, I was just last on this step. And but when you were saying about the filtering, the other thing I've been noticing is, let's say I'm using 2 words, and I'm just using this for example. This is what I'm working on right now. So one of the words is narcissist, and the other word is drug addiction. So
Okay.
I'm trying to combine these 2 ideas with different things that I'm adding for this paper. And so I get a whole bunch for narcissist and narcissism, right? And then I get a whole bunch for drug addiction, right? But then as soon as I add the word something like with the and, that feature, as soon as I use the word disembodied spirits, or any kind of religious term, because I've done my, if you will, business leadership portion, right? And now I want to add the religious component. And as soon as I add that component, that's where I get crap. Like it
Sure.
just goes from like all these choices to, like you said, like 3. And I'm like,
Yep.
what am I going to do? And so that's kind of what I've been hitting my head against the wall. And I'm totally new. This is literally my first semester. And as I'm doing this, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And all I did was add just 1 word.
Yep. Yes, exactly. So first and foremost, I would highly recommend, let's you and I have a one-on-one.
Okay.
I mean, this is definitely getting into the weeds, that's necessary.
Yeah.
Okay. But a general statement is that whenever you are beginning to fine tune that research, and you do add in that word, that one thing that really is a make it or break it kind of word for your research, then one of 2 things needs to be recognized. One, either you found a major gap in the research and that really there just isn't information out there. And that's very, very possible. But the other possibility is that you might have to approach it from almost 2 directions. So for instance, you may want to look just for the word narcissism and adding that spiritual component, just those 2. And then you might want to switch it to drug addiction and the spiritual component and look at it from that direction. And then you can start to imply connections coming from those 2 different perspectives. But again, make an appointment with me and we will definitely, definitely dig in.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. I'm having a kind of a hard time seeing everybody on my little screen here, but I think Carol, maybe you've got your hand raised.
I do. Can you hear me?
I can. Hi.
Hi. Just a quick question. I really appreciate Anne's question about the organization, and I think a template would be very helpful for myself as well. But
Okay.
the other question I have is, of all the different resources for writing, which ones have you found to be the most beneficial?
For writing,
Right.
um, do you mean for,
Academic writing.
okay, thank you. Academic coaching. They really are where I'm going to have to direct even this question. Um, they really do oversee everything that's related to our mechanics in writing. So whether it's developing a thesis statement or how to structure a paper in a way that is academic, that's their specialty. They're writing tutors. That's what their focus is. My role in all of this is really to help you locate the resources that you're going to use in your writing. So a little bit of a difference there. I would say though that there are a couple good books out there specific to writing dissertations. So I don't know if you are working on a dissertation at this point or your thesis, but maybe that'd be helpful if you could clarify a little bit, specifically the kind of writing you're talking about.
At this point, a thesis.
It is your thesis. Okay. Yeah, there are resources out there. There are good books that help you to organize your writing. Um, I am going to defer back to academic coaching though, as far as providing the best resources. Um, I do another workshop though. I call it information wrangling. And what that workshop does is that helps you to get your writing organized. It's not necessarily about the actual writing process, but it
Okay.
is about organizing information.
That would be helpful.
Well, that'll be coming out again soon. There
Okay.
is a recording from last year's, but I will do another live
Okay.
workshop with that.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hello, I have a question.
Yes.
I was doing some research and I found some information on reference military psychology journal, but when I pull it up, it says I don't have access to it, and I just want to see. Um, it's not a journal that you can I guess get a loan from a different
Mhm.
university. So I was going to see if you can point me to right direction how to access that journal without having to pay for it.
So are you wanting to be able just to browse it? Is that your thought?
Browse slash download some articles. Main thing, I saw some articles, some journal articles that I wanted to read,
Mhm.
and wasn't able to access the journal articles.
Okay. So if you know specifically the articles that you want, then that is something that you can borrow through interlibrary loan. So yes, you would not be able to borrow the entire journal. That's unfortunately one of the limitations um, with how we share information. But you could, if you knew the article titles, you can specifically ask for that very article to be borrowed and sent to you. And it would be an electronic version that you could download.
Okay.
Um, if though you wanted to browse a journal, that makes it a little bit more complicated. WorldCat is a catalog that um, it sort of looks worldwide, mostly looks worldwide, but you could potentially type in the title of that article in WorldCat and it will tell you which libraries closest to you, wherever you might be, where they would have it. Um,
Okay.
So for instance, if I looked up that particular journal and discovered that the local college here in New York had it, then I could drive over there, and almost all academic college libraries, almost all of them offer some kind of community access. So most likely I could go and say, hey, I just live in the community. Can I come in and read your journal? And there's like, yeah, come on in.
Mhm.
So that would be an option if you just wanted to browse it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Oh, thank you very much for your help. How do I go around not being able to access some materials because of my location? I'm in Nigeria, and
Okay.
I've had repeated issues in this area, and I'm about to start working on my dissertation. Kindly offer how I can go around this because
Okay.
it can be really frustrating.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank you.
I hear you. I am sure. I actually am working with a student in Canada, of all places. I mean, you would think that'd be easier. We're next door neighbors. It's just as hard. In fact, I think it's almost harder, connecting students in Canada with information because of all their rules versus any of our countries in Africa. So most of the access issues, they are surmountable. We usually can find a way to get you what you need. It may just require a little bit more direct information, or direct communication with you specifically. Like I might not be able to tell you, oh, click here, click here, click here. Instead, it might just be contact me and we'll find a way. Um, with international students, we have a little bit more leeway as far as how we loan information. It all kind of falls underneath copyright, best use, fair use policies, but it really does give us quite a bit of an opportunity to share with individuals that are hitting roadblocks getting information. So again, I can't tell you necessarily how to, to click your way through it independently, but I can tell you to please, please, please just reach out to me, and you and we can either have a video chat and we can get a list of the resources that you're having trouble, accessing, or you can send me an email. It doesn't really matter. But we'll find a way to get you connected with what you need. Does that
Thank you.
answer your question?
Yes, yes. Thanks so much.
Okay. You're welcome.
Surely get in touch. Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.